Yeah, hi.
The exhibition and conference officially closed about half an hour ago.
Yes.
You've been running like I don't know what for the past 3 days. You've been everywhere. Haven't seen you standing for a second. So what's the uptake?
The uptake or the outcome?
Whatever.
Okay, look, it's been a very good event. We've had 7,500 people here, of which 2,000 registered just to come to the conference, which was really positive. We had 40 sessions in the conference, 200 speakers. Most of the conference rooms were full most of the time, which was really good. We've had very good feedback on the conference. The exhibition floor looked great. Excellent venue. The exhibitors had invested even more in their stands than in previous years. There were some beautiful looking stands.
I won't care on that.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
there's a competitive dynamic
As a
between the
visitor-
OEMs in particular to really set out their stall, and there was a lot of things to look at and see and do on the stands as well. So that helped to give a great buzz to the whole event. There were a lot of people on the exhibition floor. We're really pleased with the week.
Okay. As far as that goes, the targets and the political side of it.
So we published our flagship report, Local Impact, Global Leadership, on Tuesday morning at the start of the event. And this report sets out in very detailed numbers the contribution of the wind energy industry in Europe to the European economy. So it defines, for the first time, in very clear terms, the exact contribution to EU GDP, which is $36.1 billion. That was the 2016 figure, and that corresponds to 0.26% of EU GDP, which is not insignificant. And that supports 263,000 full-time equivalent jobs. Contribution to government tax revenues in the EU across the 28 member states is over 5 billion euros a year.
Great numbers.
And we're also helping the European Union avoid 5 billion euros a year of fossil fuel imports, which is very pleasing. We have net exports of around 2.5 billion euros a year, gross exports of over 8 billion euros a year of wind energy equipment outside of Europe. And finally, the industry as a whole is spending 4.9% of its turnover on R&D, which is significantly ahead of the European average of 2%. So those are the headline numbers in there. Now, some of those numbers are actually going in the wrong direction. So the net exports are declining. And that's because the industry is importing more and more components. And this is a result of two things. First of all, the growing international competition that we are facing, especially from China. The Chinese market is twice as large as the European market. So of course they build up a very, very strong industry, which is competing with us all around the world. Second factor is that the rapid reduction in prices for onshore wind and offshore wind that we've seen in the last 2 years through various auctions is putting significant cost pressure on the supply chain, and therefore for a number of the equipment manufacturers it's cheaper to import components. So there is growing pressure on the supply chain to be more cost competitive, so the large manufacturers increasingly are importing components such as gearboxes and towers from China rather than sourcing them from within Europe. Hence our net export numbers are going down. We are worried about the headline jobs figure of 263,000. We've got our work cut out just to maintain that figure. Okay, that is under pressure. Now what do we do to maintain that overall jobs figure and to try and reverse the decline in net exports? Well, we need ambitious policies in Europe. At European level, we need a 35% renewables target rather than 27%. Well, in the European Parliament this week, we had a very successful vote in the Industry Committee. They voted to raise the target from 27%, as the Commission had proposed, to 35%, at least 35%. That's likely to be endorsed by the plenary of the European Parliament, and now it all depends on the negotiation between the Parliament with their 35% position and the Council, which is, as things currently stand, likely to stick with the Commission's proposal of 27%. Let's see what happens as and when we get a new government in Germany.
Okay.
That might change things.
That was a mistake done by the Barroso Commission. They stuck to the... Do you think this one
We are where we are. Yeah, but look, even if the Council sticks on 27% and the Parliament's on 35%, there is a pretty good chance that you might end up at 30%. The other thing that is crucial is to have ambitious national energy and climate change action plans. So every member state has got to prepare its national plan and hand it into the European Commission once the clean energy package has been agreed. And in these national plans, each country has got to define what their new renewables deployment numbers are going to be every year up to 2030. And they've also got to define, thanks to the lobbying of Wind Europe, because we got this in the template for the national plans, what they're going to do with their existing renewables assets that come to the end of their normal operational life between now and 2030. That's 20 years, of course, for wind farms. Of the 160 gigawatts of wind we have in Europe today, 76 gigawatts, nearly half, is coming to the end of its normal operational life between now and 2030, and something's got to happen to those assets. Due to lifetime extension, repowering. Yeah.
We do that in Greece already.
Yeah,
we repower our first wind parks.
Okay, repowering?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good, very good. Okay, excellent.
Thank you,
Good,
Giles.
good. Not
Have a
at
good
all.
rest and
Yes,
see you next
indeed.
year in Hamburg.
Thank you very much.